The cafeteria on Orbital Station K9 was always loud at this time of day. A tangle of voices from dozens of species, the clinking of utensils against metal trays, the hum of air filters struggling to keep up with so many different atmospheres blending together. Humans, fire and calyx, tauren, and others moved through the space with the ease of routine, weaving between tables. But in the far corner, at the edge of the light, sat the alien girl. No one ever sat near her. Her tray was always half full, food pushed around but rarely eaten. Her eyes, deep silver pools that seemed to catch every flicker of light, were always lowered, focused on nothing in particular. She was from the Avalorians, a species the station saw only rarely. Their physiology required them to secrete a faint mist through their skin to protect against the dry air common to human-built structures. The mist carried their scent, sweet, sharp, and utterly alien. To most on the station, it was overwhelming, almost cloying, like being trapped in a field of flowers that never stopped blooming. To some, it even caused headaches. That was why the seats around her were always empty. But when Daniel entered the cafeteria that day, tray in hand, he froze as the scent reached him. He knew it instantly. It wasn't just a sharp floral note. There was something beneath it, faint and warm, a whisper of earth after rain, of dried herbs hanging in an old kitchen. His mind stumbled back through years to summers in his grandmother's greenhouse back on Earth. She had grown rare flowers there, species from forgotten continents, their scents mixing into an aroma that felt like safety, like home. Without hesitation, he walked past open tables and stopped at hers. Her eyes lifted, surprised, scanning his face as if expecting mockery or revulsion. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked. There was a long pause. "You want to?" Her voice was soft, with a lilt that made the words sound like they were stepping carefully on fragile ground. "Yeah," he said simply, setting his tray down. For a moment she just blinked, as though unsure whether to believe him. Then she nodded once. The air around her was different from the rest of the cafeteria. The mist shimmered faintly when the light hit it, catching on the edges of her dark hair. The scent was stronger here, filling his senses, and he breathed it in without flinching. She noticed. "You don't mind?" "No," Daniel said, spearing a piece of synthetic fruit with his fork. "It reminds me of home." Something flickered in her expression, a quick, fragile shift, like the first crack in ice. She looked down at her untouched food, then back at him. "They say it smells bad," she murmured. "Not to me," he replied. "It smells like," he trailed off, unsure she'd understand the memory, "like my grandmother's garden." She tilted her head slightly, silver eyes steady on him. "Garden?" He smiled faintly. "A place on Earth where you grow plants, flowers. You care for them, and they grow in their own time. The air smells like life there." Her gaze softened, though her posture remained cautious, as if she still expected him to move away at any moment. "We have something like that," she said. "On Avalor, there are crystal forests. The air smells like this, our scent. It's how we know we are home." Daniel imagined it. Forests shimmering under alien skies, the air thick with the same strange perfume that now surrounded him. He could almost see it reflected in her eyes. Around them, the cafeteria moved on, indifferent. A pair of humans at a nearby table glanced over, then quickly looked away, murmuring something under their breath. He ignored it. She noticed, too, her shoulders tightening. "Why sit here?" she asked quietly. "You could have anywhere else." "Because you look like you needed someone to," he said. She blinked again, as though she hadn't expected such a simple answer. "And because," he added with a small shrug, "it feels right." For the first time since he'd sat down, the corners of her mouth turned upward, just barely, a smile that seemed unsure of its own place. They ate in silence for a while, though Daniel caught her glancing at him now and then, as if still trying to decide whether he was real. When the overhead lights dimmed slightly to signal the mid-shift hour, he pushed his tray aside. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Leora," she replied after a pause, as if offering her name were a gift she wasn't sure he'd value. "Leora," he repeated, tasting the sound. It suited her. Over the next few days, Daniel kept returning to that corner table. Sometimes they talked about small things at first. Food, the station's routines, the view from the observation deck. Sometimes they sat in quiet, letting the strange scent fill the space between them. He learned she was on the station as part of an exchange program, though her species rarely traveled this far. She found most humans too loud, too quick to judge. He told her about his grandmother's garden, the way the glass panes would fog in the morning, the sound of rain on the roof. She listened as though each detail were a stone placed carefully into a mosaic she was building in her mind. Word spread, of course. Daniel heard the whispers when he passed in the corridors. Some were amused, others confused. A few were cruel. He didn't care. What surprised him was how much her presence began to change him. The scent he'd once associated with memory now became part of his daily rhythm. He found himself seeking it, noticing when it wasn't there. One day, as they sat together, she asked, "Do you really remember it? The smell of your home?" He nodded. "I can still see it. And when I'm here with you, I feel closer to it." She looked away, her mist curling in the light. "On my world, we believe scent is a memory of the earth itself, that it speaks when words cannot." Daniel considered that. "Maybe that's why I found you." Her gaze returned to his, and for a moment, the hum of the cafeteria seemed far away. Weeks passed. One afternoon, the station's environmental systems malfunctioned, filtering out trace atmospheric elements to clear a contaminant. When Daniel walked into the cafeteria, the air around Leora was thin, her mist barely visible. She looked smaller somehow, her shoulders hunched. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. She nodded faintly, but he could see the strain in her. "The air is dry," she whispered. "It takes more from me to keep the scent." "Then I'll stay," he said, and didn't move for the rest of the meal. By the time the systems were fixed, her mist returned, and with it, the scent that wrapped around him like a familiar blanket. She glanced at him then, and the smile she gave was less hesitant than before. It struck him that the scent others avoided had become a bridge between them, a language only they shared. On their last day before she was scheduled to return to Aveler, they sat in their usual corner. The cafeteria buzzed as always, but Daniel barely noticed. "I will miss this place," she said, "but I will miss you more." He swallowed, unsure how to respond. "I'll miss you too, Leora." She reached into her satchel and pulled out a small vial filled with faintly glowing liquid. "Avalorian essence," she said. "It will keep its scent. So you remember." He took it carefully, feeling the cool glass in his palm. The scent was already there, faint but unmistakable. "Thank you," he said quietly. She smiled, and this time it was sure of itself. When she left, the corner table felt empty. But when he opened the vial days later in his quarters, the air filled with the sharp, sweet perfume, carrying him back. Not just his grandmother's garden, but to silver eyes, to quiet conversations, to a connection no one else had understood. And in that moment, he realized the scent was no longer just nostalgia. It was hers. It was them.